Good evening. There are major developments tonight on two crises that threaten to drag the United States into war. A deal has just been struck to head off an American airstrike against Syria. And there is a big step forward in talks on Iran's nuclear program. Both are happening late today at the United Nations, and Secretary of State John Kerry is in the middle of all of it. Kerry sat down with us today for a 60 Minutes interview. He revealed that the United States will remove the major stumbling block that was holding up a deal on Syria's chemical weapons. The U.S. had wanted to put teeth in that deal with the threat of military force, something that Syria's ally, Russia, refused to allow. So with regard to getting a deal in the Security Council, the United States is not going to insist on an explicit use of force.
That's correct. We have not taken the threat of it off the table, but it is not part of the actual resolution or this particular negotiation.
But is this idea of the use of force credible anymore after the enormous opposition you saw from the Congress and from the American people? No one believes that the president would go ahead and use force in Syria.
Well, but that was before you had the UN report. It was before you had the agreement in Geneva. That was before you had Syria owning up to its weapons, and before you had Syria signing up to agree to live by a certain standard. So if Syria doesn't live by that standard, I can assure you this President of the United States is not going to take off the table unilaterally any prerogative that a commander-in-chief has.
But this evening, Russia agreed to the deal to force Syria to give up its chemical arsenal, and that deal will go to the United Nations Security Council now, where passage is expected. The resolution is punishment for the Syrian dictatorship's use of nerve gas to kill rebellious citizens in August. Now, in the other major development tonight, Secretary Kerry told us that the United States is, quote, grateful to Iran for its sudden willingness to negotiate over its nuclear program. Iran has been suffering under severe economic sanctions because of its nuclear ambitions, and Kerry was specific with us about what the United States wants to see to make sure that the Iranians are not building a bomb. Give me an example, one concrete step, one thing that they can do to assure the world that they're giving up their ambitions.
They could immediately open up inspection of the Fordow facility, a secret facility underground in the mountains, fortified and unquestionably not something that a peaceful program would be doing. They could immediately sign the protocols, the additional protocols of the international community regarding inspections. They could offer to cease voluntarily, to take enrichment above a certain level, keep it at a very low level because there's no need to have it at a higher level for a peaceful program. There are any number of things they could do, Scott.
What bold step could the United States take right now to answer this apparent opening by the Iranians?
Well, providing that the Iranians take concrete steps, I'm confident they would have an expectation that the United States is going to respond by perhaps adjusting the sanctions regime that we have today, by setting up a process that shows them how they can have this peaceful program without disturbing our efforts to make sure that no country is now going to build nuclear weapons.
But the United States would look favorably on relaxing or eliminating the sanctions if the Iranians were serious about abandoning their nuclear weapon.
Well, the United States is not going to lift the sanctions until it is clear that a very verifiable, accountable, transparent process is in place whereby we know exactly what Iran is going to be doing with its program.
Shortly after that interview, Kerry met with the Iranian foreign minister in the highest level talks on Iran's nuclear program in 33 years. And they have just announced this evening that negotiations will continue in Geneva next month. The rest of our interview with Secretary Kerry will be seen on 60 Minutes this Sunday.